Can you say today's video is brought to you by Vevor?
Today's video is
Today's video is brought to you by Vevor.
I can't say that.
That's okay.
Okay.
So welcome back, guys. On today's video, I'm going to be showing off what might be the easiest and cleanest way to pluck a chicken. I am going to be processing a few of these chickens on camera today. I'm not going to show the killing of the chickens because YouTube really doesn't like that, and I've got to play within the rules, but I will show plucking and maybe gutting and cutting up and that kind of stuff. So if that's not what you're interested in seeing, this might be a good time to click off of this video. Huge shout out to our friends at Vevor that sent me this chicken plucker. I had been doing it by hand a few months ago, and it was taking about 5 minutes per bird, which was a very long time. This is taking, if it's scalded right, it'll take 10 to 15 seconds per bird. So whether you decide to hand pluck your chickens or use a machine like this one you see behind me, this part you really can't skip. This is scalding the chicken. It just releases the feathers, so they'll come out a lot easier. Your water should be around 150 degrees. I'm not using a thermometer, I'm just kind of eyeballing it. Kind of swish it around in there to get on every feather. So once your feathers start to release like this, you know you're pretty much good. I'm going to give it one more little dip just to kind of make sure I'm there. Yeah, so that should be perfectly fine. See how easy those are coming out? So now we're going to throw the bird in this chicken plucker. Most people seem to call this a whiz-bang chicken plucker. This is really, I don't want to say it's necessary because people have been getting along for years and years and centuries without one. But if you're planning on doing this with any regularity, this is going to make your life a lot easier. Almost there. We got a few stubborn feathers on the back. Let's give it another whirl. There's just something about turning the camera on that makes things go south. Yesterday, I plucked a couple of chickens with that plucker, and I mean, it got them just as clean as you can imagine. But this one right here, this chicken was a little bit more stubborn with her feathers. She didn't want to let them go. This bird has got a broken wing for some reason. I noticed that before I put it in the plucker, but it doesn't look like it's old, so it's not gangrenous or anything, so we're just going to go with it. One of the wonderful things about that chicken plucker that we just used is chickens obviously have very dirty feet, and you can see that plucker with all the water and the scrubbing that it goes through in there. The feet are clean, the feet are very nice, so that's another big advantage. So the first thing I'm going to do here is take the legs off, and this joint right here is where I'm going to do it at. And this process that I'm using, never cut towards yourself, right? Let's do that a different way. This process that I'm using is nothing groundbreaking. I watched a video by John Siskovich, and he's pretty well the one that taught me how to do this. So if you come across his channel, you're going to find the exact same method because I'm just using his method. I'm not reinventing the wheel here. So now what we're going to do is, hope that y'all can see this. I think the style of video is pretty similar too. I'm going to get accused of plagiarism here. So now what we want to do is we want to free up the crop in there. So what we're going to do is just kind of get this little flap of skin right here and get down in there and try to kind of free up the skin from the neck. And it helps to have an extremely sharp knife. This knife is very sharp. I may not show it on camera very good, but it is a very, very sharp knife. Now your crop is going to be, there's your crop right there, and you want to release it from the inside of the skin. There's a membrane, of course, holding it on right there. And you really just, what your goal here is to just kind of get everything freed up here at the neck so that you'll be able to pull everything out of the back end here very shortly. Now we want to take the oil gland off. There's a little oil gland right here that you don't want to cook. And we'll just take it off. Okay. And now what we want to do is get all of these intestines out right here. So what we'll do is we'll just kind of pinch this skin right here. And you want to be really gentle doing this because you don't want to cut into the intestines. It's not going to ruin the bird, but you'll have to do some extra cleaning on her. And what we'll do is we'll come on down. A little sloppy here, but we'll come around down what would be above the vent anatomically, and I'm working backwards here, so that's making it a little more difficult. There we go. So we got through that fat right there, that skin, and we want to make sure we release this vent. This is the part where we're going to be super careful, because you got lots and lots of guts in here that you do not want to cut. Alright, so I think that our vent is out, and if you have not clicked off of this video yet, if you're still here, you might consider leaving now, because this is a pretty gross thing to have to do. We'll just make sure we've got a little space here. We want to reach our hand in here, and there's lots and lots of guts in there, obviously, because it's the inside of a chicken. But we just want to go ahead and release the guts from everything. And I'm working with my wrong hand here. Let's try this hand. And you just rip it all out. Looks like we did a decent job of getting everything out from the crop. Most of the stuff came out pretty easily. And that's pretty well it. So one little thing here, and of course if you want to, you can pick through all of this stuff and get your liver out. I'm not going to do that because we don't eat that. There's a heart in there too if you're interested in that. I'm not going to do that either. But I do want to show y'all one thing. The gallbladder right here. There's your gallbladder. If you break this gallbladder, I have read that you have to throw the entire bird away because there's no going back once the bird's contaminated by that junk in the gallbladder. So at this point, we're not interested in this neck right here. So what we're gonna do, I'm gonna take a little bit of a heavier knife, and I'm gonna cut this off, and I'm gonna give that to the dogs. And you might go back over it just a little bit and get all these little pin feathers out. But overall, we've got a pretty clean bird. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna do a few off camera because I got several of these to do today, and then I'll come back and do a time lapse and see how long it actually takes to process a chicken. All right guys, so I got another chicken here and he's obviously already dead and scalded. So we're gonna go ahead and start the timer and see how long it takes to do an entire chicken. So that part by itself only took about 30 seconds, and that was including me going to get the hose. All right, so all of that took 4 minutes and 55 seconds. And keep in mind, that's with me moving the camera around too, so probably 4 to 4.5 minutes would be my guess. Let's do one more and then we'll be done with this video. That is amazing. I want to do one more bird because one of the great frustrations that I faced when I was trying to figure out how to clean chickens and put them in my freezer and all that stuff was finding a video of somebody telling me how to cut chickens up. A lot of people don't do a whole lot of things with whole chickens, including us. All of the ones that I just cut up and dressed, well dressed I guess, were for my parents. My parents went in on this batch of chickens and I'm getting them 10 whole chickens. They like the whole chickens. But we prefer cut up chickens. We like the legs and the thighs and mostly the boneless, skinless breasts and the wings and that kind of stuff. So before we end this video, I'm going to take this chicken that's already dressed and clean and cut it up and kind of show you how I do that. Everything's crooked right now because the sun is not helping me out on my shadows. Y'all can see the shadow of the camera right here, so I hope y'all can focus on this. So what you want to do is you want to start out, and again, this is, I'm not reinventing the wheel here. This is just, I saw this on some video. I can't remember what video it was, and that's just kind of the way that I'm doing it. So what you want to do is you want to take your leg and your thigh right here and kind of pull them out and expose this skin right here, and then just kind of release that skin a little bit. And then it's pretty simple. You just take this, keep going with your skin there just a little, take this back and that joint will dislocate, and then you just take a knife and get it off the rest of it. So there you've got your thigh and your leg portion right there. Put it to the side and you'll do the same thing, of course, with the other side. Hope that y'all can see this okay. Just pull your leg out a little bit. Cut your skin away from it. Whoops. Get your skin away from it. Dislocate that joint. And that bone will pop out, and that bone gives you a perfect guide as to where to do your cutting there. I think I may have gotten too aggressive with my cut. Yep, there we go. There you go, there's your legs and your thighs right there. And I suppose you could separate those further, but I don't usually do that. We don't really need to do that for what we do. And now the wings. This wing, again, is dislocated, and I've discovered that that's happening, if I can reduce that. So that's happening during the killing process. The bird, of course, when you kill them, they get kind of excited, and you know, while their bodies are kind of chilling out there, they flap their wings and do all kinds of crazy things, and I discovered that's when that's happening. But you're gonna have another joint right here. At the bottom of that particular bone should be right in that area, and you'll just follow that around, oops, until you can find it. There it is right there, and then you just kind of cut up under it, being super careful not to cut towards your hand, because these knives are so sharp they can do immense damage in a short amount of time. This one remained intact. By the way, if it looks like I'm being sloppy with this, it's because I'm a total amateur There we go. There you've got your wings right there. And now what you want to do is you want to separate your breasts and your tenderloins, which are up under your breasts there, from this back section. And it makes it pretty easy for you. So what you do is you see this fat line right here. Basically you'll just follow that fat line around, and I like to use this heavier knife for that because I like to keep my smaller knife really sharp, and you're going to end up cutting through ribs right here. So you just cut through those ribs a little ways. Do the same thing on this side. Cut through those ribs. Bend this backwards. And now you can cut. I can't remember if you can rip this off or just cut through it. Probably either way works fine. There we go. So this portion, I don't do anything with it. There is some meat on this. I'm sure you could put it in a stock pot and make broth or something out of it, but I don't do anything with this personally. So here is your prize right here. We like to eat boneless, skinless chicken breasts in different recipes. The dogs will enjoy the skin if you want to give it to the dogs. And here are your boneless, well, they're not boneless, they're going to be boneless. Here are your chicken breasts right here, and your tenderloins are up under it. But you've got a pretty heavy duty breastbone right here. And what you want to do is you want to kind of cut right here in the dead center and score it. You don't necessarily have to go all the way through. You just want to score it a little bit. Oh, well, that went all the way through, and that's fine. That works too. But usually if you just score it, you can flip it over and then do that, and that'll crack it, and you should be able to get it apart. But that works pretty well. The fact that it came apart makes it a little easier. All right, so we'll start with this side. And of course, you've got your breastbone right here that you want to separate from your meat. So again, if this looks a little awkward, it's because I am an amateur. This just seems to work for me. So you just want to separate your breast and your tenderloin from this bone. Try not to waste any more meat than you can help. There you go. And there is your tenderloin right there. It's a little raggedy, but there it is. Tenderloin, boneless, skinless breast, and you can clean this up a little bit more if you want to. Just kind of go through it some, make sure this piece of the tenderloin possibly still in it, but that's okay. Make sure there's not any bone still in it. Same deal on this. This one's a little bit more defined right here. You've got your breast right here and your tenderloin stuck to your breastbone. So this one came out just a little bit nicer, and that's usually seems to be what happens. I don't think you ever get a super even break on that breastbone. So one side's usually better looking than the other. There's your tenderloin. Take your cartilage and stuff off of there if you find any. There you go. And now, again, you want to take breastbone, cartilage, all of that stuff that you don't want off of that breast meat, while trying not to waste any more meat than you can help. You're going to waste some. It's just the nature of it. That one came out pretty clean, actually. That's a nice looking one. If you want to, you can trim that fat off, give it to the dogs. But that one came out pretty clean. So there you go. There's your cut up chicken. You've got a couple of breasts, legs, and thighs, tenderloins, and a couple of wings. So that's what, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 pieces right there. So big shout out to Vevor for this. They sent me this product. They didn't pay me any money, but with the YouTube rules, I still have to say that this is a paid promotion. So if y'all are interested in this, check out their website. I'll have a link in the description and in the comments of this video. They've been kind enough to offer 5% off of this product or any other product on their website. They have a whole lot of really cool stuff, woodworking tools, restaurant type industry things, metalworking tools, lots of really cool stuff on the website. When you get on Vevor's website, you're going to find that chicken plucker before the discount is, I think, $479, something like that, which is admittedly pretty pricey. But if you've got some friends that also do chickens, or you're a member of a co-op or something like that, consider going in on halves or thirds or quarters or whatever and trying to get one that you can rotate and borrow and let your friend borrow when they need it, because that thing has just revolutionized the amount of time that it takes to pluck chickens. It went from 5 minutes per bird by hand to something like 10 to 15 seconds. So there's a discount if you still find that it's too expensive, because admittedly that is pretty pricey. Try to find somebody to go in on halves with you, because I promise you, time-wise, it is very worth it. And it's pretty well put together too. I think it'll last a long time with the construction quality. One more thing before I end this video. These birds that you see behind me, these chickens, and they're not coming up here anymore. I think they're trying to stay out of the sun, and plus some of them have gotten wise on coming up to the door this morning, I think. But these are Cornish Cross birds, chickens, and we got them on September the 1st, somewhere along in there, and at the time they were probably 2 days old, something like that. So they were tiny things. And today is October the 26th, so we're looking at 7.5 weeks or so worth of growth, and that is really just an amazing amount of growth. I think I put 300 pounds of food, I'm not 100%, somewhere around 300 pounds of food into 23 chickens. Had 25, but we lost 2 unfortunately. But 23 birds, 300 or so pounds of food. There's 5 egg layers in here too, but they comparatively don't eat nearly as much. So the growth rate there is just absolutely astronomical. 7.5 weeks, and these are full-size chickens ready to be harvested. So if y'all are interested in getting into chickens, this is actually a very easy way to do it. I think a few months ago we started off and we did like 15 or something like that. So if you want to get like 10 just to try it out and see if you're going to enjoy doing it, that would probably be the way to go. And you're not going to put a whole lot of effort or time into birds like this, because it only lasts like 7 weeks or so. So anyway, that's going to do it for this video. I really appreciate you watching, and I will see you on the next one.